and welcome everyone to the Fixing Football podcast. And it's just me tonight. It's just Martyn, MLN, and I'm happy to be here. Liam is unavailable. Well, to be honest, we actually had something planned a bit different tonight, but that couldn't go ahead in the end. Scott is away in Australia at the moment, so time difference is a bit of an issue there. Liam is unavailable mainly because I give him the night off and we couldn't record. And Luke will be watching Man United. So that's all my regulars gone. So it's just me. And I thought I'd switch it up a little bit anyway. We've got a bit of a Q&A. I've reached out to some subscribers, some people who follow us on Instagram, just for a quick one because it's a little bit last minute. So I thought I'd go through some listener questions and just see what I can come up with. We're in this together as a community. And this is how we're going to do it. This is how we're going to do it going forward. Fixing Football. Liam will be back, of course. Scott will be back. Luke will join us, I'm sure, again at some point in the future. Because Man United have started winning again, so that's probably why. But for tonight, you've just got me. Before I get started in a bit more of the weekend's action, my single Dance With Me is out on Friday. It's available on Spotify and Apple Music and anywhere you can find or you get your music. You'll be able to put it on your TikTok dances and your Instagram reels and all that fun stuff. So I'd really, really appreciate the support. If you could pre-save it, that helps too. Then it'll just go straight into your algorithm and you won't have to worry about it and you'll just be with me Friday morning enjoying it. So yeah, the link will be in the description for this video and you can find anything on my socials, which is at MLN the DJ. And yeah, I really, really appreciate it. So the weekend. I mean, there's only one place to start. Arsenal are back. We are back. Thank God. I mean, let's review it a little bit, but I would be lying if I said I wasn't slightly nervous coming off the back of Brentford and Wolves last week. It's not been a fun week to be an Arsenal fan on social media because it's been pretty meme heavy, but I was pretty confident we would get this done despite it being at Spurs and despite them having a new manager. I just felt like we would still get the job done. We're a far better team than them, and they are right in a relegation battle, and I think that's going to be really interesting how that plays out with, 10 games left? We're at the crunch now, so we'll get onto them in a little minute. As for Arsenal, we have regained that 5 points gap that we are just doing our best to shrink incrementally over the remaining weeks of the season, limping towards a title it seems. But now we've got a real title race on our hands. I'm hoping that our players begin to stand up. We've got a week off now where there's the remaining Champions League fixtures, so hopefully the players can just get a little bit more juice in the legs and revitalise themselves, because I felt like a few of them are a little bit dead on the feet over the last weeks, and it's brought up to Mikel Arteta this week. People like Martyn Zubimendi and Jerry Timber especially. Gabriel's played so many games. David Raya hasn't missed a minute. Declan Rice is just a machine. Leave that guy there. Just you stay there, mate. But my guy Victor is bang on form right now, and he's who we need to win us this league. This is why he was brought here. I haven't been very critical of his performances, nor his output. I've always felt he needed to do a little bit more for us, because the way he receives the ball isn't the same, and I think that's been the main difference in his gameplay has been how he gets the ball. He started to make that effort a little bit, and you're seeing it the way he exposed some of the channels. I think Tottenham's formation played right into our hands a little bit, but he was in the channels, he was getting hold of the ball early on, and yeah, I'm just so happy that he's starting to deliver a little bit and right at the time when we need him. Eberechi Eze just loves playing Spurs. I think he's tied with like Robert Pires for goals in a North London derby, and he's played 150 minutes. Saw that stat over the weekend. I was like, right, well, I'm in. And if all he was brought here to do is score against Spurs, he's gonna leave a happy man and be held in high regard. I still want more from him though. His job's not done yet, and there's a lot of matches left to play for us this season. That being said, happy all round. Am I happy that there's a title race now? No, I want to win everything easily and well and get it done, just so I don't have to worry. I've got enough stresses outside of football that Arsenal don't need to pile on top of, but I like to keep it interesting. As for the rivals, which rivals am I talking about? Let's talk about Man City for a second and then I'll come back to Spurs. They are well up for it. It is hungry Man City is not something you want to be toying with too much, and giving them any give on the leash is not a good thing. It's not a good thing to play with Pep if he's hungry for that. And people like Erling Haaland and I think Nico O'Reilly's putting in some really, really good performances. Mark Gay seems to have slotted in very well. They've just got a fantastic attack. I still think they're there to be got at a little bit, and if people like Leeds away and some tricky matches like that, I think they have to go to Stamford Bridge as well. Them the matches that I think they can drop points at. I don't think we can afford to drop any more points, and that includes the Etihad. But we're in for it. Who knows? City are coming. They're definitely coming. And where do we go from here? We've just got to keep on top of it. Like Declan Rice was spoke very well in the media this week, which I was happy about because I'd been a few days fighting it alone. And I say fighting it, I mean burying my head in the sand and thinking about other stuff because it's been pretty rough. So let's just see where we are in 2 weeks' time again. I'm still confident we're going to win the league. I'm just far more nervous than what I need to be. So let's see. I don't know. The other rivals who need mentioning is Spurs. They are in a world of pain at the moment. They've brought in Igor Tudor since we last spoke. He's a bit of a, bit of a firefighter. Seems to come in and rescue teams or get them things that they need over the line. But when it comes to building anything for the future, it's not gone well for him. And I think that's why, and maybe wisely, he's only signed an 18-month contract with Spurs. I don't know if the message has been clear over the time that they've had with him, but Spurs were all over the show, and that's been the story all season. And you'd think someone like Thomas Frank would come in with a really sort of, engaging and force of someone who brings people together. Galvanising is the word I'm looking for. A galvanising figure. I think that just seems to have not worked with the players at his disposal. It's been mentioned about their injuries, which I think their list of injuries is incredible, but something needs to have been done there. Can they cope with high-intensity work? Is that it? Is it too many matches? Is it one of them things? Have they just got players who were the medical team and it's more like the researchers who go into players, the team around when you're buying a player? Surely their injury history is brought up, or anything that comes up in a medical. Maybe they're not being advised right or what, but they've been in it for over 2 years now, this injury hit team that is really holding them back. Personally, I'm all here for it. I don't want to see them succeed. I just feel like when you see, if you've ever been to a Spurs stadium, it blows everything out of the water, including my beloved Emirates Stadium. It's on a different scale with everything. No, it's not the biggest in terms of capacity, but everything else is just ridiculous. What they've done so well with that, they have completely foregone everything that happens with the team on the pitch. They sold Harry Kane for 100 million. They've done that numerous times and sold players who they brought up, got the best out of them and sold them for maximum amounts of money, and it's just never translated onto the pitch. We'll see with Spurs. They are right in it with Nottingham Forest and West Ham, who are both, I feel like over the last couple of weeks, have been unlucky rather than have been well beat, where Spurs are just getting battered. They are getting turned over and they aren't turning up. West Ham and Nottingham Forest are, and they're getting a little bit unlucky, like we saw with Forest against Liverpool. West Ham have turned a corner in terms of performances, so there's so much to play for there, and I think the gap's 4 between Forest and West Ham. I'm going to consult my league table right now. I think that's the case. It is. Leeds have a 2-point lead on Spurs at the moment. Leeds have got 6 on West Ham. They're going to be pulling away if all them teams aren't careful, and that's 3 big teams who've invested lots of money potentially going down along with Burnley and Wolves. Burnley, by the way, definitely worth a mention. Scott might not appreciate this, but drawing with Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, I think it all went a bit tits up after Fofana got sent off. Nothing wrong with the red card in my opinion, but it looks like Chelsea have collapsed a little bit there. Maybe they're running out a little bit of steam as well. They've got a really busy running towards the end of the season and they have to play all the big teams still, and that will make teams like Manchester United smile, and Aston Villa, who are right in there, and Liverpool, who are right in there. So behind Arsenal and Man City, that fight for the other 3 places in what's more than likely a top 5, I'm pretty sure it's almost confirmed that Aston Villa, Liverpool, Chelsea, who else am I missing? And Man United, who are right in there. And only 3 of them can get them remaining spots. A couple of weeks ago, I think I felt that Aston Villa would have a bit of a free fall now, but it doesn't seem to be the case, and they seem to pick up points. I haven't studied Aston Villa's fixtures, but I feel like they have a tough game and then a more winnable game, let's say, rather than a chunk of really tough games. I might be wrong, because like I say, I haven't looked at them the same, but that's the vibe I'm feeling. We're a vibes podcast here, so that's all I'm feeling right now. Maybe that plays into their favour a bit. Chelsea's running right now is ridiculous towards the end of the season, and they have to play everyone. So we'll see. I'm just trying to think of any other big points from the weekend. Manchester United playing now as I'm recording this, so I can't comment on them and where they're at. Maybe by the time this goes out, Manchester United will be in a really strong position when it comes to going for a top 5 spot, and the pressure will be on everyone else. I mean, as I'm talking now, Man United are 4th. And you know what? Brentford are still in there. I don't want to rule them out. I do think a Champions League spot is beyond them. But they are right in it. And they've already caused upsets. They've taken points off everyone who's come to their stadium this season. So let's just see how the rest of the season's playing out. To be fair, though, I'm very happy that this isn't playing out like last season. Selfishly, because we're at the top. But there is a title race. And for the neutrals, that's important. But also, by this time last season, we already knew he was going down as well. It was so evident. But this season, I know we've had Wolves and they've been horrendous. But Burnley is still putting up a fight. And then that remaining 3rd spot, which I think a while ago I felt maybe going to Nottingham Forest, they haven't pulled themselves away. I don't know. I felt Forest might get pulled away, mainly due to their owner, more than anything. But have they landed on someone now in Vitor Pereira who, like Thomas Frank at Spurs, should have done? Maybe Vitor Pereira can go and galvanise them a little bit. We'll see how that plays out. He's always going to be hard against Liverpool, but it was a good opportunity for them and they fared well. So we'll see. What I'm going to do is take a quick break and then I'm going to come back with everyone's questions and I'm going to do my best to answer them. Thanks for that. That's my little review of the league and where we're at. I didn't get to talk about Bolton. Normally we squeeze Bolton Wanderers in there, but they drew against Blackpool in what, by all accounts, was a bit of a tough game. But look, Liam was very negative in the WhatsApp group. I'll give you a little insight right now. Bolton ended up scoring the equaliser. I'm sure it was late on from the alerts that I remember on over the weekend. And it was the return of Ian Evatt, obviously, with Blackpool. Are Bolton doomed to the playoffs again? I hope not. I hope not for their sake. Being a hometown club for me and a former employer, I always want to see them do well. I would love one day to be in the Premier League, but on the face of it, they're just nowhere near. They're just nowhere near. Even competing in the Championship from the bits I've seen. But I really hope for them that what I would love, Liam might not like this, but what I would love is a run of form for them, which breaks them into the automatic spot and gives them a good run up to the Championship season. That is the hope, but it seems as though the top 2 are going to start pulling away soon. There's 10 points between Lincoln and Bolton Wanderers, who are in 3rd. So that seems insurmountable at this point. There's, like I say, we've got 9-10 games left before the playoffs start. Maybe a 3rd place finish will help Bolton in that playoff run, and being there will be the catalyst that they need, and they go up as the rightful 3rd place team. I want them to succeed. It's obviously good for Liam, who is a, let's say, friend. It's good for the town. People who aren't local to this area. This place was different when Bolton Wanderers were in the Premier League. You could not go near the stadium 3 hours before kickoff. It was Bolton Wanderers. You can't go and do this or that because for those who don't know, there's a big retail park attached to Bolton Wanderers Stadium. So it's just been this thing, and there's all sorts of benefits that come with the surrounding areas, and when it comes to media and job opportunities and all sorts of stuff like that comes with being a Premier League team, and just the attention on the area. And I would love for that to come back. But the ownership seem to be taking the tortoise and the hare approach, and while Wrexham and Birmingham are flying away up in the Championships, competing their best to do there and go for that, the consortium that own Bolton Wanderers, headed by Sharon Britton, is, maybe taking the tortoise approach in that story. We'll see. With Bolton, like I say, I want to see them do well. It helps us as a town. Right, like I say, I'm going to take a short break, and I'll be back in a second. And we're back. Thanks for sticking with us. If you are new here, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and do all that fun, cool stuff that helps YouTube channels grow from just a guy sat chatting to you just for nothing to maybe something bigger, though, where we can have a community and all of us can come together to try and do something great in the world of football that isn't just some fat toy for these billionaires. And, well, who knows, I might be crossing over. Like I said at the beginning, we're going to do a bit of a Q&A now. I've reached out some of our loyal listeners and fans on Instagram and other places have sent me some questions. Some of these last minute haven't been vetted, so this could be anything. Let's just see how we go on, and we'll work it out there. So from question 1, I've had ChatGPT order them for me as random, but it hasn't attached the names, so I'm just going to make it up. This one's from Liam. Be honest, has VAR actually made football better? Because right now it just feels like we celebrate goals twice and enjoy them half as much. That does sound something like something Liam would say. I am very clear that VAR is not good. I would like VAR to be available for decisions that are not, subjective. That anything that can be up for interpretation or is a grey area should be the referee's decision. I think that's how we keep it the fairest from grassroots up till the Premier League. Rightly so, with the Premier League comes, like in League 2, there's no goal line technology, but there is in the Premier League. I think that the same could be applied for the use of VAR. Offsides could do with getting better, because once the rule's established and the technology gets better and better, and whether you want to do Arsene Wenger's daylight rule or you want to do the 4 red rule or the big toe or whatever, like we've seen crazy decisions. However you want to make it clear, that ruling is then clear. So for VAR, that can be black and white. That'll get better. But for other stuff, it doesn't need to go the other way, where we're doing it for yellow cards and corners and deflections and stuff like that. And one thing I think they need to make the handball rule clearer. If it needs to move to a ruling like Europe, which I'm not really a fan of, where sort of any contact with the hand ever is a foul, most of the time a penalty. I'm not a big fan of that. I think more common sense can be at play, but that's another rule that I'd like to look at some point in the future. That's where I stand on VAR. I think other members of the podcast and you listening might like VAR and want to see it just get better and be used better. For me, I think we've had it for 5 or 6 years now, and it has barely got better in that time. I think most people would agree that it has got slightly better, and that is the best way anyone could describe its time with us. So, for me, VAR, be gone. Question number 2. Oh, that's all right. If you could bring back one retired player in their absolute prime to fix your club tomorrow, who are you picking? I'm an Arsenal fan. So, I think the only answer is Thierry Henry. Ever, for any question like this, because he's, in my opinion, the greatest Premier League player, certainly Arsenal's greatest ever player. Sometimes I just find myself watching compilations of him. He was a different breed at a time when the Premier League might be in its most romantic period ever. He was a cut above the rest. Yeah, I mean, he's the ultimate striker, and he did everything else. I watched a video of him the other day, and it was of him, the amount he tracked back and the positions where he would pick the ball up from, and they were well inside our own half. That for me would be Thierry Henry every time. I'm just trying to think if I'm missing someone or another area of the pitch that we need to fix. And I don't think there's many. We have had some unbelievable players. My favourite player in the Emirates era at Arsenal is Alexis Sanchez, and I know he left on bad terms, but Alexis Sanchez was he was firework. He was unbelievable to watch, amazing to watch, and just was a joy as well to have. So a more modern answer, Alexis Sanchez. All-time answer is Thierry Henry. I would be interested to know the answers of your clubs if they are not Arsenal. I'm going to take a stab at the boys' clubs while I'm here and while we're doing this question. Let's answer for them. So Luke is a Manchester United fan who, since I took the break, are 1-0 up against Everton. So let's see what that does to the top 5 race as discussed in the first half. Who could Manchester United back all-time to fix their club now? This is a Fixing Football podcast. And I think Manchester United, they've had arguably the widest choice of elite players in the whole Premier League era. And it's too easy to say Cristiano Ronaldo because there's an argument that he's the best player of all time. But I think Roy Keane, not just his leadership is clearly what he is remembered for and the crazy stuff. But I think people overlook just how good of a footballer he was a lot of the time. And he wasn't as flashy as Scholes, who was next to him, or Beckham and Giggs. Do Man United maybe need a centre-back? Who am I thinking of? When I think of Man United centre-backs, I just think of Rio and Vidic. And don't think centre-back is the biggest area of Man United's issues. I mean, the kid Lamans in net seems to be doing all right. Yes, you could bring back a Van der Sar or a Peter Schmeichel. But would they have the impact that Roy Keane has? And that's where I would say. So Man United's Roy Keane. Bolton Wanderers for Liam. Who would I bring back for them? I've said to Liam a few times, and this has been on the podcast, but I think Bolton Wanderers need someone to inspire them. And maybe the obvious answer is JJ Kocher. Is it? But I'm going to go with Kevin Nolan as a guy who, in an era of Bolton Wanderers when they were signing these sort of has-been superstars who Sam Allardyce turned into this sort of misfit, iconic Premier League team, who were then able to compete in Europe with the likes of Atletico Madrid and Bayern Munich. Kevin Nolan remained a constant as someone who, I think he was in Liverpool's academy, and then Bolton Wanderers had signed him young. I think he came into the team when he was 18 or something. And I think Kevin Nolan would be a great leader for Bolton and an inspiring figure for them who they need. So that's what I'm going to go with, and I can't wait for Liam to tell me how wrong I am. But let's see. And then Chelsea. Let's see. Oh, God, Chelsea. If I could bring one retired player back for Chelsea to fix them, I mean, Scott might be hesitant to say Roman Abramovich, but I don't think he's classed as either retired or a player. So, Petr Cech. Chelsea are fine in most areas of the pitch one way or another. John Terry would be far too easy, but I think Petr Cech, in my opinion, being the best goalkeeper the Premier League's seen, I think he would be the answer for them, and certainly not Arsenal's best ever goalkeeper, but Chelsea's definitely. So that's what I'm fixing. And let me know where I've gone wrong here. And let me know who you would bring back for your club, whether that be a West Ham, Middlesbrough, Crystal Palace, PSG, wherever you are. I want to know in the comments and try and, like say, build this community. So that's the question I'm putting out to you. Who would you bring back in their absolute prime to come and fix your club right now? And like I say, not necessarily always the best player ever. It might be who your club you just need right now. Question 3, is the Premier League, it's a serious one, is the Premier League too powerful now compared with the rest of Europe? Are we basically watching a financial arms race? It's hard when you are a Premier League fan to say that we're too powerful and it's a bad thing. But we certainly are. I don't know if I can give this the colour it needs, maybe, and maybe it's a topic for another day with a few more people to be able to discuss. We are far too powerful as a league when it comes to and it's certainly just money. The money and exposure players can have in the Premier League, and every player is their own little brand these days. Yeah, the Premier League, too powerful is the wrong word, but we certainly are the most powerful. And what happens is when our teams are involved, it's a thing. Exhibit A, the Super League. As soon as we're not involved, it's not a thing. Real Madrid and Juventus and Barcelona have just come out of this agreement that they had, and they've all settled up, and that's all done for now. Certainly, too powerful is hard to. I don't know how to combat that because other leagues will always have their draws, like Bayern Munich, like Barcelona and Real Madrid, like Paris. And that might be it outside of the Premier League in terms of a big draw. So yeah, maybe we are too powerful. But it's hard to think of that as a bad thing when you are that thing. So yes, I'm gonna agree with that. But with a smile. So yeah, top 5 Premier League players ever. But you have to pick one goalkeeper, one defender, one midfielder, one forward, and one wild card. Who are you going with? Goalkeeper would be Petr Cech. Think he's the best. Defender, let's think. Who are the candidates here? John Terry, Rio Ferdinand, Sol Campbell. Very lucky that they're all English. I think they're my top 3 centre-backs. Maybe I'm missing someone. You might want to argue Virgil van Dijk, for me, doesn't break that list. But he's up there. Might make Scott pull his face saying that, but he is up there. Who else? I think I'm wary of this becoming Chelsea heavy already, but it may have to be John Terry as the best defender in the Premier League. Vincent Kompany's getting there. I'm trying to think. No, I'm going to have to go with John Terry. I hate that. I do think Petr Cech is the best goalkeeper. Midfielder, I'm going to go with 2 wild cards then. No, I'm not. My best midfielder in the Premier League is Patrick Vieira. I think he has something, and while all the players who you're already thinking of are certainly in the conversation, for me, I think Patrick Vieira had most of what everyone had and something extra, and was tenacious and a great leader and a bastard probably. And he was our captain for a bit, and I think he sits above everyone in that department. But they're obviously, if someone says Steven Gerrard, it's very hard to argue against that. If someone says Roy Keane, very hard to argue against that. Who else? Frank Lampard, very hard. All great arguments can be made for all of the above. And maybe Patrick Vieira won the least of all of them. Not Steven Gerrard, but yeah. But I still think as a footballer and for that traditional midfielder, I think he had everything and more than just others. That being said, my wild card pick, I think the forward one is obvious, is the Thierry Henry. Just think he's the greatest footballer we've seen in the Premier League. That's biased. Maybe the Patrick Vieira one seems biased too now, but I don't care. The best, and my wild card one, is the player who is the only player I put above Patrick Vieira as a midfielder, and he might be one of the best footballers I think we've had in the Premier League, and certainly goes underrated in that category when it comes to these top 5 lists and these greatest 11s and whatever else you see on all the YouTube channels and on all the social medias of these top 5s and whatever. But in my opinion, Kevin De Bruyne is the best midfielder we've seen. He certainly has the trophy cabinet to compete with most of them. He has the physical attributes to dominate all of them, in my opinion. Yeah, I hate the fact that he played for Man City. He played for Man City in probably the greatest Premier League team we've seen. And he was the focal point in that. The talisman. And what he can't do with the football isn't naturally, physically possible. An absolute genius. Has everything. He's the only player I put above Patrick Vieira in a midfielders list, and for me stands head and shoulders above most players ever in the Premier League. He's certainly in my top 3. Well, clearly in my top 5. That's my list. Who are you going with? Who's a wild card one who I've not mentioned? There's loads I can mention. I missed out Liverpool players. Mike Owen was one of my favourite players growing up, but doesn't make it above Henry. Like, I have the utmost respect. I can't hold Frank Lampard and Steven Gerrard in a higher opinion than what I do. I just think, and hatefully so because of who he played for, but Kevin De Bruyne is the best. That's just where I sit with it. And yeah, arguments to be made for all the above. Next question. I wonder who said this. Are proper number 9s finished in modern football? Are we just overcomplicating things? I think I think we're seeing the return of proper number 9s now. If you look at the physical profile of certainly a lot of summer signings over the last 2 or 3 years, and I think since the emergence of Erling Haaland, he's really had to throw back because he's as quick as anything we've ever seen, and he's bigger than most that we've ever seen, and he scores more than anyone we've ever seen. And you have to try and everyone has to try and think of a replication for that. Man United going by Benjamin Sesko, who everyone sees as the next one of them. Arsenal by Victor Gyökeres, who's the only one getting close to his numbers across Europe. There's so many who are looking for this player who can do everything in the vein of a Didier Drogba or a Thierry Henry, or the tall and quick and powerful strikers who do their job, which is score goals, rather than the maybe more diminutive side that we saw for a while. We saw Aguero dominate the league in terms of numbers for a number of years, and I'm trying to think who else fits into that category. Maybe Robin van Persie fits into that category slightly, but yeah, for me, I think the number 9 is coming back more than ever. In fact, we're even seeing teams play 2 up front now, so that's where I would sit with that. That's all I can think of. That, yeah, the number 9 is alive and well. Question number 6. Should refs be mic'd up like in rugby where we can actually hear decisions? Or would that just create more drama? Oh, referees, man. Do I want to hear more from referees? Maybe. I don't know about this one. I'd have to throw this back and discuss it a little bit. Don't want refs mic'd up. I mean, we've seen them come through like on the Tannoy system when it comes to VAR decisions now. Don't want them mic'd up all game, like for ref cam stuff. No. Let's just be definitive on something here. No, I don't want to see refs mic'd up. Would it be fun for the odd game? Probably. Might be a laugh. But yeah, let's see how that one plays out. I feel like it's coming. But let's see how that one plays out. I don't know. And number 7. If you were building a club from scratch, what style would you be going with? Pet ball, Klopp chaos, low block and counter? I don't know. For me, these styles, I don't think the style can be dictated by... so in that position, I'm the owner. I don't think the style of football can be a thing that I'm judging the team on. You have to take a step back. You can't be the Marinakis guy at Nottingham Forest who is following out people because they aren't crossing it enough or they're not playing enough through balls or whatever his issue has been. The players dictate that. The owner's job is to finance them players. I don't know if an ethos is built like a Barcelona or an Ajax. An ethos is built over years and generations of players coming through the academy. So maybe that's where it starts. Style, I don't know. Win, I think, is a more important style than anything. That's why I've had such fun with people mocking Arsenal this season about long ball and own goals and corners and set pieces. Winning. I like winning. And maybe if we win 3 Premier League trophies in a row, I might start worrying about how it looks. But until then, I'm all for Nicholas Jover and carry on his set-piece wizardry. Do you agree? I don't know. I don't know if people would agree here about the ownership thing, but for me, I feel like the owner shouldn't be the one dictating style of play. It might want it to look nicer, but at the end of the day, is Ryan Reynolds dictating to Phil Parkinson how he wants the team to play, or does he just care that he keeps getting these promotions and trips to Wembley and stuff like that? Is that a thing? Are teams worried when they're at the bottom of the league? Sam Allardyce was a famous one for years to come in. Oh, he plays long ball thing. He played with what he had at his disposal. So, yeah, don't know. I don't think that is the question for someone starting a football club. Question 8. This is getting serious again. Is player power out of control now? Feels like managers don't last 5 minutes if the dressing room turns. Yeah, player power is big. They're just on so much money that they don't have anything else to worry about. I think Alex Ferguson was great at... He kept everyone on less money than him. Almost like a dictatorship, really. But Fergie was the top dog when it came to getting the wage packet at the end of the month. And that was clear, and it created a top down. I'm sure you don't earn more than your manager at work. And he doesn't earn more than his manager at work. There's levels to it. But players now, you can't pay everyone Cristiano Ronaldo money. It's not a thing. So I'm sure Mikel Arteta isn't on Bukayo Saka's wage. I'm sure that's not what's happening. But is player I think managers are easily blamed too much now. Now, it is such a high-pressure job, especially a Premier League manager. It's ridiculous. And they have to be front and centre of everything. But they're not front and centre of every decision that goes on at the club. When things are going bad, it seems like they're the ones who get the brunt of all the bad that comes at them. When these chief executives and directors of football, maybe they're a little bit more to blame. And I do think there's a world that we may see soon when the chief executives, a little bit like a GM in baseball, where they would be front and centre more. Not that I want it to go that way. I romanticize the days of an Arsene Wenger and Alex Ferguson, who ran the ship. They knew the name of every chef, and they knew everything that went on in the academy, and they knew what sponsorship deals were being done. And like that, the game's just too big now for that. And I think we need to see CEOs and directors of football be a lot more front and centre, front of house when it comes to media responsibilities when things are going wrong. Hot take or wild dream, who knows? So is player power out of control? Yes. Just look at any contract situation and see if the player ever comes off worse. It's rarely the case. Question number 9. Do financial fair play rules actually level the playing field, or do they just protect the big clubs? I feel like a Newcastle fan sent this. So, does financial fair play? Well, they're changing, maybe for that reason. And maybe the new iteration of PSR can change things up next season, and from then on, clubs, if they have the financial capabilities, can push above them thresholds. I think it's like 30%. Which would enable teams who have more money than Jesus Christ to go and do it and make an attempt at success. But there's all these caveats to that, like that you must. I don't know how to say it well enough right now, but Newcastle and Aston Villa seems to be the ones in this situation the most, where they are pushing the boundaries of PSR, and they just don't make the same money that the big six, the traditional big six clubs do. They don't generate enough worldwide. They can sell the women's teams into the training ground and their sleeves and cuffs and socks and whatever else they need to do, but they still can't compete really, and they are really right at the limit of the threshold. I think if you listen to someone like Kieran Maguire, he's been quite hot on Villa for a while, that they are right on the edge. Certainly on the edge when it comes to the UEFA financial fair play rules. Same with Chelsea, who I think have paid fines already and are looking at other charges still when it comes to this sort of thing. So they are being adjusted to make it more level so teams can be ambitious. Again, I feel like I'm in a privileged position because I am a fan of one of these big six clubs, so it's hard to it's easy to bat it away as a not my problem thing. But I do want an equal playing ground for anyone. I do think that Newcastle should be able to spend every penny that they want. Because ultimately, I don't think it guarantees success. The figures will tell me that I'm wrong here, because the team with the highest wage bill, generally, if you create a list of the teams with the highest wage bills and then look at the actual Premier League table, there is not too much difference in that list. So, yes, the stats would say that I'm wrong, but I don't necessarily think giving Newcastle £1 billion to spend every transfer window guarantees them success, because there's so many more moving parts to that. Let's see how the new rules work, I think. I think they've been adjusted to be more fair for teams like that. So let's see. Number 10. Again, we're in football territory here. This is good. I feel like I could get Liam involved in some of these questions later on. Is the high press sustainable across a whole season, or are we going to keep seeing more injuries because of it? We spoke about Tottenham in the first half. Liverpool went through this, actually. The first season, 18 months of Jurgen Klopp, where their injuries were really bad. And I think Antonio Conte went through this at Spurs. Obviously, Ange Postecoglou and Thomas Frank went through it. High pressing teams again. I think there's got to be a middle ground, and that can only be decided by the clubs themselves and the players. You've got to know your own body a little bit, and managers have to take into account the physical capabilities of some players. People say all the time, if you look back on any TikTok of a a Premier League player talking about such and such a player, and he didn't even train. He didn't. Carlos Tevez never trained. Eden Hazard, the worst trainer. This is two of the best players we've seen in the Premier League. They're unbelievable players. Didn't train. Didn't want to. No one said anything. Eric Cantona. You got to just know these players. There's got to be more done in terms of medical research. You can't just ask every player to be running a marathon every week in the name of your pressing game. That doesn't mean to say that players shouldn't be pushing themselves as well. There's got to be a fine line. I think the high press is sustainable, but it should be... I mean, we saw it. Jurgen Klopp did it for 5 years. His team, Gengen press, was the whole rage at one point. And I think there's ways it needs to be managed. With the amount of games that people play these days, it's hard. It's so hard. But if you look at the intensity of a championship match, especially a championship match where it's close to the top of the league, the quality might not be there, but the intensity is ridiculous. So high press, definitely sustainable. But I think people just need to be more aware of the physical capabilities of players, of humans. These are some of the fittest people in the world, and they still get constant injuries, and we're still seeing the same injuries, and we wonder why players getting ACLs. It's because they run 1 million miles a year. Question 11, if you could steal one rule from another sport and add it to football, what are you taking? Might need to pause the video here to think. I mean, I've said it before about the tennis rule and the challenges for VAR. I think that's the only way you can make it work, because that gets... And the only reason it works, number one, it probably reduces the amount of times we're using it. But it also creates a thing on the pitch for the clubs to have to decide and the players to decide. And as an in-stadium experience, a signal that a player has challenged something, and you see challenge on the big scoreboard and stuff. I think it's something... I'm trying to think of other rules now. Pit stops. I don't know. Let's see, still one rule. Oh, I don't think what rules apply. I think we've tried the idea of sin bins before. I don't think that's too good. I think because football in general is such a low-scoring game in comparison to most other sports, that a sin bin is too costly. It's as bad as playing without a player for 10 minutes or 5 minutes. There's no point. I don't think that applies the same. What else? I'm trying to think of other good rules that would work. Again, I'm going to the comment section after this episode to see what people are saying. What are the rules? I'd like an all-star game at some point. This is where I'm team Todd Bowley. I'd like an all-star game. It's not really a rule change, but I think it's something that we could look forward to in the off-seasons, in maybe the seasons when there is no international competition, which is, I think that is aligned with every solar eclipse now, or something like that, because they are few and far between. We are seeing when there's not the Nations League or a World Cup or the European Championships, there is now a Club World Cup. So God knows when you'd fit that in, but I feel like there's room for it. Maybe do it instead of the Community Shield. That might be something. And question number 12, I've got one more after this. Are we losing local identity in football because of global ownership? Or is that just old school fans romanticising the past? Are we losing local identity? Yes and no. I think that's on the clubs too. And I can only speak for my club here, but I know, and obviously I'm not in the London area, but you see a lot of stuff on social media that goes on, and the initiatives that they take up in the local area, that is on the clubs to implement themselves in the community. You can't just ask for 11 men who live in Bolton and breathe Bolton to play for Bolton. It's not the world. Everyone lives in a multi-society community, a multi-community society, multi-society community. One of them things is right. Everyone lives in one of these areas now. So to think that your football team should be any different is not realistically the case, and not the world that we live in. So I think it's on the clubs to be part of the community, and I only think that can be better for them in the long term. You gain the trust, and you gain fans, and you gain generational love from these people and families, and that becomes their thing. You will know someone listening to this you are Man United because why? Doesn't matter where you live, because my dad was Man United and his dad was Man United, and we have always been Man United. There's them people around all the time, not just Man United. You're talking every club. My dad was Wigan, so you're Wigan, and his dad was Wigan. This is the thing. So I think it's on the clubs that to do that. Can you ever get 12 men from the mill down in the area who play for your club? Not anymore. I like that though. I liked thinking back then. Okay, last question. This is controversial, and I'm going to leave it up to debate. Give my 2 pence and leave you with this. Has football become too soft, or a bit like the last one, are we just romanticising an era that was actually dangerous? For me, I look back at some old clips. I love looking back on old clips of football. And number one, I can't believe the pitches that most of these people played on. It's incredible. And when I see a bad pitch today, I just think it is alien. It's absolutely otherworldly to see a bad pitch in professional football these days. See some amateur pitches that are like Wembley. Has football come too soft? No, but I think there's the rules and there's different influences that have that. You can look at a million different things of where a player these days has dived and gone down old in the face and whatever. That's not soft. That's just the faking stuff to gain a sporting advantage. It's not soft. I think these was the days of, say, a Graham Souness, who would have a fisticuffs in the middle of the park and then shake hands and walk on and carry on playing the rest of the game. Referee would just give him a little finger wag and say, "Oh, you boys have been naughty, crack on. None of that again." The rules reflect the world that we live in, I think. And I've always thought for a long time that player safety is the most important thing when it comes to football. Because what are we doing? Encouraging people, humans are evolving all the time. You see it every week if you look in the newspaper that some poor person was assaulted and died after one punch. That was never a thing 100 years ago. People are just strong. Humans haven't got harder skulls. I'm going off on a tangent, but bear with me. Players are faster, stronger, healthier, all that other stuff, but they're not more durable as humans, and you can't expect them to kick 10 lumps of shit out of each other and it'd be all right because it's a game. It's part of the game. Do yourself a favour if you want and look in the official rule book of football, because there ain't anything that accepts contact other than something that is I think it's like acceptable coming together at the referee's discretion. Other than that, the next time someone says to you, it's a contact sport, it isn't. If you want a contact sport, they're there for you. But it isn't a contact sport. There is just an acceptable coming together sometimes of humans. I think player safety is super important. That's why I hate the late flags on linesmen, because we've seen players get injured in them instances as well. You're just adding to the running. You're adding to the potential injuries and collisions if you don't put your flag up. And that's why I hate that rule. Has football become too soft? No. But it is soft enough. It doesn't need to be made hard, and it's fine where it is in that sense. Has football become too soft? I want to put that out again to the listeners. There's 3 there for you. Pick and choose which one you want to answer in the comments, and that's where I'm going to leave you. Thank you, everyone who stuck with me and listened to this episode. Like I say, it's been a bit different. We've got a few different ones coming up as well. Our usual stuff will return as well. But thank you very much for listening. Please pre-save my new single, Dance With Me. It's out on Friday, the 27th of February. I'm very excited for you to hear it. So please do like and share and subscribe and do all that good stuff. If you want any more information on the single, it's at MLN the DJ on any social media. That's MLN the DJ on Instagram and anywhere you can find stuff music related. And all podcast stuff is fixingfootballpodcast.com. If you want to get involved with us as a community, there's stuff like Super Six and fantasy football, and just being in touch in the comments, and let's grow this community together. Let's do something fun, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace, guys.